Welcome to the new episode of All That Jazz. I'm your host Matjaz, and I have with me Stephan. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for being on. And our mutual friend, I don't know, I haven't asked her to say the name here, so I won't use her name. I'll just say a mutual friend that uses your services has recommended you to be on the podcast. So here you are. And before you go into what you do, because it's a very interesting project with leaves and stuff, and is how was your spiritual journey before that? Did you grow up being very religious family, like Catholic, Protestant? Because you grew up in Germany, right?
Yes, I grew up in Germany and had just like a normal upbringing with like a formal Christian background that didn't go very deep, but
Right.
very loving. And as soon as I finished school when I was 20, I took a one-way ticket to India, and I just followed my passion and started to study everything I could study about spirituality, yoga, meditation. And also for the first time, I could taste freedom, to not follow social constructs, but really let my heart guide me.
Right. So your parents didn't say, "Oh, you have to go strictly this way, or we'll disown you." Like some families, like when it's really like Orthodox and really strict. Like I met this guy in Israel that was like, "Oh, my families are Orthodox Jews," and when I told my father, that I don't believe the same, he doesn't talk to me anymore. He disowned me basically. So that's tough,
No, I was very lucky with my parents in this terms. Of course, they didn't understand what I was doing. They was hoping I would go to Germany studying university, but they let me do my thing at the same time. They still supported me.
Okay, so very kind of loving, kind of Western family that's kind of open to they love you, and they're also open to whatever you do, and they're just hoping for the best as for their son.
Yes, I was very lucky with that.
Okay, and you grew up with many siblings and stuff?
Just one brother who chose a very kind of regular life path.
Oh yeah, that's very often the case. Like one sibling is like goes into something completely different, and another sibling goes into a traditional mode. That seems to be a very common polarity in having siblings and all that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens then? Did you then leave Germany and go in search for your spiritual knowledge somewhere else?
Yeah, I left Germany like 2 weeks after finishing high school to India, and then I immediately knew that I wanted to study spirituality and that I had to look for this in different places in a German university. So I literally went to the Himalayas, like visited all these like sacred places, was searching for teachers. And I was very lucky that I also found some very beautiful teachers.
Like what kind of teachers?
Like yogis, yoga teachers, also Tibetan monks. I literally spent like at some point a few weeks like walking through the Himalayas with like some Hindu monks and with these wandering monks that just sleeping outside in caves and temples. And I was very young, and a bit naive, but life was treating me very well. I was very lucky. They took good care of me. They were good people. And I learned a lot of just trusting life.
Right. Did you ever sleep outside in the snow? Because I've heard stories about Himalayan monks able to radiate a lot of heat, that they're able to learn that. Did you ever see that?
I didn't do that. I didn't see that, but sometimes I didn't do that, but I was very impressed. I saw some, and I spent some time with people like, the old man with just a line and linen cloth, sleeping on 5,000 meters outside with not even a blanket.
Right. They're somehow used to it, right? They're somehow used to it.
They're very much beyond the body.
So you think they're technically, even if they were in a freezing environment like Siberia, or no, Himalayas is high enough. There's snow all the time. So they're able to stay healthy. despite all this bad weather.
At least they survive. Let's call it like that.
Right. Is there something about their diet that makes them healthier?
Actually, I'm not sure how healthy these monks are, but they're so beyond the body. They're so identified with spirit and so little identified with the comfort of the body that they can go to extremes with their physical body. Because all of their energy is focused on their spiritual growth and experiences.
Right.
And I must say, I'm very grateful for these experiences, but this is not how I live today. I like to have a strong, healthy body. I like to have a comfortable environment, but I'm very grateful for these experiences.
You know, I have a theory about this, that as you're a monk and you're meditating there, there's certain experience that you can't, or certain temptations that you have only in the world. The temptation for sex, money, power, prestige, glamour, all that, that can only happen in the world if you're doing something. If you're a monk, that is, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you have different challenges, let's say. And there may be a monk that's taking too much food, too many beans, or I don't know, rice peas or whatever they eat. You know, there might be different challenges there, as opposed to in the real world where it seems it's more complex and chaotic, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever hear a story about Ramdas? Ramdas is famously knew Timothy Leary and was the whole Harvard experience with drugs. And he came with India with some LSD. And I love the story that apparently he gave LSD to a lot of different monks and yogis, and they all loved it. They're like, "I'll give me more." And then when he found his true teacher, he gave it to him, and the teacher ate it. I don't know why he ate it, why all these people ate it, but he ate it, but nothing happened. And I thought, to me, this is very interesting.
Yes, I think he even ate all of it, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah, but nothing happened. And then maybe he took more, and then nothing happened. Maybe he was already at a high spiritual state that the drugs didn't have anything to block out or any negative emotions. He was already at such a high level.
Yeah, I think if you're on a really high level spiritually, drugs actually bring you down. So there's no need to take them.
Right. So, okay, since we're talking about this, did you ever have any drug experiences or anything like that you maybe experimented with on some level?
Well, yes, before I went to India as a teenager, I was experimenting, and I'm grateful for it. It definitely pointed me into the direction. But as soon as I basically found my first meditation course, which I was still in Germany back then, I found a flyer for a meditation course. I immediately know, oh, that's it.
What kind of meditation?
This was a kind of very heart-centered approach. Some students of a teacher called Rishis will always be grateful for them. They kind of showed me the first meditation techniques. And then also when I was in India and Nepal, I did my first meditation retreat, a Vipassana retreat. And then I realized that kind of meditation and kind of natural approaches are so much more profound and long-lasting than any kind of artificial substances.
Yes. What do you think about I saw on YouTube that there's a lot of frequency videos and stuff like that supposedly help people raise the vibration, and then there's a lot of videos about chakras, cleaning the chakras and all that, and you listen to the music and all that. Does it seem a bit artificial to you?
Oh, it's helpful.
It may be helpful. Okay.
All of these tools can be helpful, but they're more like nice tools and toys. They're not the very essence of the spiritual experience.
Right. So would you say that then prayer and meditation is like the essence of spiritual work?
Definitely. It's the essence and also like the highest practice. And for me, it's sitting meditation, but for other people, it can also be like dance or walking meditation. So many different ways to practice. And for different people, different approaches work. It's also important not to fool oneself and to say, yeah, I'm just doing lying down meditation and going to sleep. But
Right.
so there are many different approaches, but I think meditation and prayer are definitely the highest pointers towards this ultimate reality.
Right. So then you're in India and you're part of different spiritual communities, this and that. And then when is it that you realize that I actually not only that spiritual pursuit is part of my life, but actually that you want not only do spiritual work, but that you want to do your work be something in the field of spirituality?
Actually, I never considered anything else, to be honest.
Okay.
I was very lucky that for me, for the beginning, I knew with all of my heart, all of my being, that I wanted to dedicate all of my time to practicing spirituality. So the first like 8, 9, 10 years, I didn't work much. I only worked sometimes to get some money, but I also lived very cheaply, and I'm also grateful I had support of my parents. So I could really dedicate the majority of my time to spiritual practice and study. And then at some point, I just felt a wish to create more projects that implement the spiritual practices and experiences and wish to share them with other people. And then once I started the first projects, and then some of them failed because I didn't have sufficient understanding about money and making things sustainable. That's when I realized, oh no, I need to make things sustainable, how to work with money and so forth. And then I started to create projects, I started to create businesses, but it always came from just following my passion. And then I realized, oh, I need to do this to follow my passion. So I don't have this traditional thinking of like, I need to work to make money and then I can do this. It's more like, this is what I love to do. I want to do it. And how can I make it happen?
I love that. That's like a great philosophy, because a lot of people, I think nowadays, well, I think there's always been the case. They work to make the ends meet. They work for the money. They work this and that. But it's kind of like you're feeling empty. Even
Yes.
even a lot of people making a lot of money, but they feel very empty inside. And I know this story of there was a son of a Wall Street guy, and he went to work, not Wall Street because that's where the good money is, but he really liked doing landscaping. But it took him, many, many years, and until only his late 40s or something, upon many suggestions by friends, he really liked landscaping. So he tried. One friend offered him to help if he could help with landscaping on golf course, and he really loved it and did a beautiful job. And then that's how he found his way into landscaping. you know even though people might earn, in the worldly terms, you might earn less money, but it's not the money itself, it's the joy that you get out of what you're doing. That's really what. And if you have joy in your heart, then in some way you're contributing to the positive balance of the world, isn't it?
Totally. Yes. For me, it was also more the other way around, the learning that I had to embrace money more in order to make things sustainable, which is still my learning. But now I'm at a point where I can really say, yes, I love money because it makes it possible to create beautiful projects.
Right.
And I think many people in the spiritual field, they have a lot of resistance and mental like blockages regarding money, because we see it as something kind of evil that's part of like destroying the world. But then the result is that all the money goes to the people who don't have good intentions. And then of course the world looks like that. So,
Right. I was talking with a good friend the other day, and he's like, I think he was paraphrasing somebody that the first thing that a lot of spiritual students do is surrender common sense and responsibility.
yes. Yes.
And I seen that in my life as well. Like I was like, at some point when I discovered spiritual stuff, I was like, well, the other stuff is not so important, so I will throw it at the wayside. And so in a way, I was discarding responsibility. I was surrendering responsibility for something else. But I mean, we live in the world, but we don't have to be attached to it. We don't have to be attached to money, but we can still work with it, right?
Yes.
So then you're in India. Is that where you've come across the this kind of method of leaf reading?
Yes, actually. So The first few years, I always traveled back and forth between India and Thailand, where I started to study yoga meditation in a more structured way.
Mhm.
And at some point, I think in 2008 or 9, I was in Delhi with one of my teachers, and I went to visit a palm leaf library for the first time with a group of my friends. And surprisingly, I did not find my leaf back then, but I always remembered that moment and that experience because it felt so authentic. The place, the experience, and the people felt so authentic. And I was really touched by it. So it stayed with me for many years, that experience. And I always thought, oh, one day I'm going to come back and find my palm leaf.
So the palm leaf is only in one place in India, or?
No, there are actually many palm leaf libraries all over the India, mainly in the south and a few in the north. Like I went to Delhi, that's in the north. And then there are also a few libraries in Sri Lanka and Bali as well.
So, and how many leaves are we talking about? Like more than 10,000?
Yes, no one knows exactly how many there are, but there are definitely a few million palm leaves.
Whoa. So wait, then there has to be so they wrote it like centuries ago. Is is it more than 1000 BC, like older than that?
Yes, no one knows exactly how old they are. The legends say that the palm leaf tradition is between 2 and 7,000 years old, so a long time.
Ooh.
But because the leaves are always manually copied by hand, because one leaf can stay maybe 5 up to 800 years, one palm leaf can remain, but then it's still composed, like it falls
Right.
apart. So they were manually copied by hand whenever the old leaves decayed. So no one can really say when the first leaves were written.
Do you think it's possible? Because like I'm just thinking of human error. Do you think it's possible that there might be some human error, or do you think? No, I'm thinking maybe there was like, when you copied something that there was checks after checks, but then it probably involved so many people too.
Yes. Like many people work together over many centuries to preserve the palms. It's the more I think about it, the more it's like, wow, it's a very
Right.
special human project.
Right. Well, when you think about all of these spiritual projects like the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, all the preservation of the temples, the churches, the cathedrals, the amount of dedication and worship that that goes into this, because in some ways it's like dedicating to God, not only the people that work for them and the work for that, but then the people that donate money and all that stuff. It's such a huge part of human history.
Yes.
So these leaves, then what is so if you find, you said you didn't find your particular leaf, so what happens if you find the exact leaf that's you?
So I found my palm leaf many years later. This is also how I started my palm leaf, the organization, my palm leaf. So when you find your palm leaf, you get a reading of the palm leaf from the palm leaf reader and the translator who read to you the content of the leaf, which is basically a summary of your life from the moment that you search for the leaf for the rest of your life. So you can basically read your life story. Your future life story is written on this palm leaf.
That sounds scary to me. What if I don't like what it says? What? Okay, so you've had some experience. Do you deal with like, because obviously it's your company, My Palm Leaf. So when you do readings, are you usually present, or is there other people that work for the company?
Both. I do many readings myself, which means I moderate many readings myself, but we also have a few other moderators. So in the reading itself, there is the palm leaf reader, which reads from the palm leaves that are written in the ancient Tamil language. Then there's a translator who translates from Tamil to English. And in case it's a different language, there's also a translator from us who might translate from English to German or to Russian or to French. We now just started to offer this service in up to 20 different languages. I'm very proud of that. So we offer translation in many different languages as well.
But I'm guessing most of the readings are in English because there's a lot of English speaking people around the world.
Yes, most of them are in English, German, and Russian so far.
And And how big has the business grown? Like, do you get more than 20 people getting readings in a week?
Not more. It's at the moment it's maybe 2 per day on average. Sometimes 1, sometimes 3, sometimes 4.
Okay, got that. So, so is there sometimes when you have people on and there's a reading, what's the usual reaction that they have?
All kinds. Many people are really touched. Some people cry, some people just feel spiritually a lot of movement inside of themselves. Some people are more mental, like processing all the information. And I must say, there's also a small percentage, maybe 1%, who don't like it. Say, oh, it's not real, can't be. But the majority of the people are very touched and kind of stunned, that this is real.
Wow. And is this something that then changes their life after? Like, obviously, okay, let's talk about you specifically. Also, what happened when you found your leaf, and then if you maybe can divulge if you want what it said on it to do.
So when I find my own palm, when I was looking for my own palm leaf, it was more than a year ago. So a long time after I visited the palm leaf library. I was in a confused period of my life. And one morning I woke up and the first thing I could think of was like, the palm leaves, I need to find my palm leaf. And I was not even awake yet and started to search like online for palm leaf library. And I found someone who's offering the same service like us now. Thank you, Vera, if you ever hear this.
Right.
And she helped me to find my palm leaf, guided me through the process and moderated the reading with the library. And I actually had the reading of my palm leaf while I was sitting in my car in front of a Vipassana center. That's a meditation center. And I went straight from the palm leaf reading into 10 days of silent meditation retreat, which was perfect. So I had enough time to process all the information. And then I also felt very clear that I should work with the palm leaves. Right. It was very, very clear intuition. And many things of what the palm leaf said, it describes your whole life. So it's a lot of information. Also, you forget a lot of the information after, and it's good to re-listen to it. But basically, so far, most of it has come true for me.
Most of it, meaning more than 85%.
Yes, the important parts have become true.
So, okay, let's see. Well, I'll give you an example.
An example is I was in Belgium at the moment, actually, where the Vipassana center was when I had the reading. The palm leaf said that I would travel to the West, to a community that I already know, meet a teacher that I already know, and meet my partner that I also already know. And then I would dedicate myself to spiritual work. And first, I went to Turkey, actually, which is southeast from Belgium, so from Germany. So I'm not sure about this palm leaf. It's at west, in the southeast. And then all of a sudden, I got some invitation and a very strong impulse to go to Mexico. And then I went from Turkey to Mexico, which is the West, basically. I went to a community that I already knew. I met a teacher that I already knew. I met my partner, who I already knew. And I dedicated myself to the palm leaf work. So all of the predictions basically came true from this first palm leaf reading.
So you knew her from Germany, like, so this is all like a big coincidence. Like you went there and you met a lot of people that you already knew from Germany or India.
Not from Germany, but I have stayed here before. So from my previous visits, I knew this person.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. Well, okay. Here's the thing about, what's your opinion about the free will versus predetermination? Do you think, like, famously, I always bring this up because I think it's so fascinating. Winston Churchill wrote in his first biography, My Early Life, he wrote that he thought predetermination and free will are the same thing, which I'm still kind of trying to figure out. Is it that you're drawn by your future? Are you drawn by the destiny and you only have a few choices? That's my opinion. Like, my view is that you have a few choices, but then if you choose this, then you move maybe there, but then you have these choices here. That's the way I view it. But maybe predetermination and free choice is the same, because you're drawn by what maybe you've chosen before you're born or something, and but then you can still refute it if you want, but you don't really want to because that's what you've chosen. So okay, help me out here. What is
Yes.
does the palm leaf in any way interfere with it, or does it just help you along the way where you're actually supposed to go?
So it's a big question, no? Determination
Yes.
of free will. That was one of my first kind of contemplations as a teenager. For many weeks with a good friend, we were like, so which one is it? And
Right.
now I came to the conclusion, including with the palm leaf work, that both coexist and works together. That there is predetermination and that there is free will at the same time. And also that's an important part, that there are multiple realities, multiple timelines that are happening parallel, and you just choose one of them in each moment. You choose one timeline, but all the other timelines, in my current understanding, also exist at the same time.
So what do you mean that they exist at multiple at the same time?
So in our daily experience, we perceive time as linear, right? There's a yesterday, a today, and a tomorrow, and then there's only one reality.
Aye.
And this question, is there free will or
Predetermination.
is the word? Kind of ask the question, so which one of all of these possibilities will become true? And I actually believe that all of them are true, but one of them is the base reality that we're experiencing in this body. And our free will makes us choose one reality and experience one reality. But at the same time, all these other options are also existing in a different, not in the same way, but they're also existing.
So you mean they exist in a different universe, or it's just that they exist as a potential and you can tap into it?
Kind of both.
Okay. Okay.
But more as a potential that you can tap into.
Potential, right?
Yes.
Because I've talked to a few psychics on my podcast, and they say they always seem when I ask them this, they say it's true that if they see something about the future of somebody, that doesn't mean that this is going to happen. That just means that the way, it's almost like the way the train is going now, if it keeps the same course, or let's say even better example would be a boat, if or a ship, if it goes the same track, it'll arrive there, but along the way you can still make choices. That's why I think the analogy of making choices and stuff like that, because you keep making a different choice, because like with a ship, if you correct the course just a half percentage every day, then in 2 weeks you're gonna go way off course. Instead of New York, you're gonna maybe end up almost in Mexico or something.
Yes.
Over a long period of time.
You pretty much described how I perceive the palms. Like they are describing a certain timeline, a certain direction that we are on in the moment of the reading. Based on the energy and the karma of the day of the reading, that's the direction in which we are going. But it can be changed at any point in all directions.
Okay, so it's not okay. I see. So this basically, the palm reading is giving you a snapshot of where you are now on the course, but you can always, after you get the reading, you can always change it.
Yes, especially if you apply the remedies. The remedies are part of the palm leaf reading. So they're recommendations and guidance given by the Rishis, the authors of the palm leaves, how you can transform certain karmic blockages and therefore to live a more fulfilling life experience. In my opinion, they're the most important aspect of the palm leaf reading.
Oh, that sounds really good.
And just little side information, it's palm leaf reading, not the palm reading. Sometimes there's a confusion.
Right.
Palm leaf reading.
Palm leaf reading. Oh, obviously, yeah, because we're not reading palms.
Yes.
Yes. Although I've had that done by not by a professional, but one time I had that done. It was interesting, to say the least.
Yes. that's a different science, you know. It's something valuable as well, but it's different.
Right, right. Wow, so that's really interesting. So then theoretically, let's say, or practically, if I it, or correct me if I'm wrong, but like if I took the leaf and found my leaf today, or if I find my leaf next year, it would be a different leaf, wouldn't it?
Yes, also the content of the leaf always starts from the moment that you look for it, because the leaf already knows when you will find it. So it only describes your life from the moment when you come to search for it.
Oh man, that's scary to me in a way. It's like it sounds like a mysterious movie in a way. Like it always
It's very
already
mysterious.
knows.
Mhm.
Right. And but then again, life, a lot of life's things are mysterious and you never know. And there's, like you said, there's sometimes weird synchronicities. Like for example, you had the reading and then you went to the 10-day Vipassana retreat, and God knows what would happen if you just had the reading when you went back to Germany, or you would be in a different state of mind, wouldn't you?
Yes, totally. Actually, it was not a coincidence, because usually the matching is when your leaf is found, and the reading is happening on the same day. But in my case, I had the first appointment on a Monday, and my leaf was found, but it was said that there were some energetic blockages, and then I needed to do some pujas first. The puja is a certain ceremony to clean the blockages. So I went and did these pujas, the ceremonies, and then the next appointment was when I had the reading in front of the Vipassana center.
Wow.
It's all perfectly planned by life.
Amazing. So do you have to be any specific belief system, or is just like as long as you're open to it and you find
Yes,
this,
as long as you're
or
open.
if it finds you, so you're open to it and then you're able to receive it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
Okay.
coming from the Indian culture, so of course there's some spiritual background from that. But as long as you're open, it doesn't matter if you have a Christian background, Muslim background, Buddhist background. There's zero
Right.
harming for you, or not.
What are the you said the best thing about this is like the karmic kind of uh the imperfections, the karmic remedies that you can apply. So so give me an example. What would be like would the leaf sometimes say you just need to go volunteering, join the Red Cross, or join the Salvation Army, feed the homeless? Is that some part of it as well sometimes?
Yes, it might say things like you should do social or spiritual service, or it might say you should give food to some people, or shelter, or like clothes to someone. And sometimes also very specific things like you should give food for 5 cows on a Thursday, something like this. Or you should feed some birds. And then also what's very common is that you should do certain pujas, certain rituals to invoke specific energies into your karmic field, into your energetic body.
What's a puja for those that
A
don't know? I
puja,
don't know.
a puja is a ceremony, an act of worship that invokes the presence, the grace, and blessings of certain deities or beings. You can also do a puja for Jesus, but mostly it's for Indian deities like Shiva, Parvati, Ganesha.
Okay, that's interesting because I saw some videos on, again, on YouTube. There was they were invoking some kind of they were reading a scripture of some kind, and then they embedded that subliminally in the video. But so it's kind of like a hymn, but you can't hear it, but then people use it and listen to it, and somehow that helps you overcoming some obstacles. And it was based on a deity in the Hindu tradition.
For example, yes.
Very interesting. So
To give you an
wow.
example also, because I told you how I was going from Turkey to Mexico. Actually, when I was in Turkey, I felt a bit stuck. I feel like I should go to Mexico, but it was this whole COVID thing time.
Right.
And I felt like, oh, I can't travel around the world now. I was kind of stuck in this fear a little bit. And then I actually applied one of these remedies, which was a specific puja that I was supposed to do on a Wednesday. And I did this puja on a Wednesday evening. It took like 20, 30 minutes. And afterwards, my mind had shifted completely. I was out of this fear state. And I was like, of course, I can just go to Mexico now. And I booked a flight. And 2 days later, I was flying to Mexico, which was a very good decision. And I could really see how this had instantly changed my mind and then also my reality, because I literally went to the other side of the world and had a totally different experience.
So it's like it can change your attitude and your whole the way you feel.
Yes.
That's interesting, because I don't know if you know, I've had that experience mostly with meditation, but a few times I went to Kundalini yoga a few times years ago. And wow, that it changed the whole mood and stuff like that. And obviously you did plenty of spiritual work, so you're familiar with how, like, especially if you practice spiritual work, you can get into states where you're like, oh, everything's peaceful, things that used to annoy you don't annoy you anymore and stuff like that. Let me see, is there often in the leaves content about family? Because I know from personal experience, and I know many other people, one of the biggest challenges that happen is family.
Yes, it plays a big role in the leaf. There's a lot is written about our family, both in the now and also in the future. And also recommendations on what we can do, for example, to improve relationships.
And what's the most common thing that a leaf will recommend as a remedy to improve family relations?
So in the beginning of the palm leaf reading, it often mentions doshas. Doshas in this context means karmic blockages. And for example, there's something that's called kudumba dosha. Kudumba means family. So there can be like a karmic blockage in the family. And then in the end of the reading, when the remedies are prescribed, often there are different recommendations on how to work on that karmic family blockage, which can or often has the form of different pujas, different practices that you can do. That would first work on your own karma relating to family, and then would also lead to a different experience on the outside.
Right. So
sometimes the leaf might also say that you should just accept it as it is, and that there won't be an improvement. But often there is a recommendation how you can improve it.
That's interesting. So it seems like in some cases, even if people progress spiritually, their family, because you can't control them, you can't, so they will stay the same, and they will interestingly view you as the same person, even though you're not. They will view you exactly the same.
Yes.
Isn't it? Oh, okay. Yeah, this will be interesting. I wonder if I should do this. and I think it's such interesting work because I know my friend, when she had the reading, she felt a lot more at peace, and she was very much, I think she was very touched by it. So it seems to me that from what you're saying, that many people have the same experience.
Yes, because it takes you out of the suffering of the moment and gives you a wider perspective of your life and a kind of a better understanding of why certain things happen the way they happen.
Does it also provide insight into how, how often, like, we as human beings, we imitate, not we imitate, but we're like, the way our parents raised us is oftentimes the way we kind of start raising our kids as well, not intentionally. Is there something, oh yeah, that would be a good question about parenting. Is there a recommendation of, if you meet this kind of person, don't marry them, or if or the person that you're with, better, you better not go there, or something like that?
Yes, there can be this kind of recommendations, even more in the detailed chapters. So palm leaf consists of 14 chapters. The first one is by far the longest. It's a summary of your life that includes all the different aspects of your life: relationship, career, your mother, your father, your siblings, and so forth. And then there are also the individual chapters which go into more details. For example, there's a chapter about relationships. And both in the general chapter, there would be information about your relationships, but also in the detailed chapter, there would be even more in-depth information as well. Sometimes even names, like, like just a few parts. your partner will be called like this or like that. It's rare that there are names, but it's happening.
Right. And I imagine that and even this first part sounds like it could be very emotional for people. Like it's like, do most people get emotional even in the first chapter?
Most people are emotional when their family is found and after the reading. During the reading, most people are so busy with absorbing the information because there's so much information that I think the emotions come more before and after than during the reading.
Right. And is it recorded as well for them to listen after?
Definitely, yes. So we record the whole reading and then people get the recording afterwards as well.
Right. So, okay. How long
If
is
someone
this
wishes,
usually?
so the entire process, including the finding, the identification of the leaf and the reading, is about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. This is quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said earlier, if somebody wishes, they can.
Yes, we can also make a transcript for them. So one of our team members basically watches the recording and types it down and summarizes it also and gives it a good meaning in English. Because it's a reading itself is done in a casual, in a casual way, also with a strong Indian accent. And then we can just summarize it in a clear text with good explanations and so forth as well.
Oh yeah,
For those who wish it.
in case people don't understand what if some of the details about the reading. That's
Yes.
interesting. And then I guess towards the end or after it, people can ask questions and.
Yes, after the reading, if there are questions about something that has not yet been answered in the leaf, people can ask questions about it as well. It's because the palmis are written in a very symbolic way. And so the translator is not just translating one-to-one, but he's also interpreting it and giving it a certain meaning in modern English. But it can also be that something is written in the leaf that fits to someone's question that has not yet been kind of said by the translator.
Mm. You ever like hear a leaf reading and you're like, ooh, this sounds really awful because they've had maybe an awful life and you're like, oof, this person went through a lot.
Yes, sometimes there are quite some challenges. And at the same time, I would say that most people who have a palm leaf and who come for reading, they also have a certain blessing. You know, it's a big blessing to have the palm leaf reading. Because it's basically, it's not just information. Palm leaf reading, it's basically connecting you with this dimension of the Rishis, those timeless masters, inviting their blessing and their support into your life.
Mm.
So whoever comes for palm leaf reading, usually it gives some improvement to our life's journey. Even if someone is in a period with a lot of struggles, the palm leaf hopefully will smoothen that a bit.
Mm. So let's talk about the Rishis. You mentioned the Rishis. So the Rishis are the spiritual masters that wrote all the leaves, the millions of leaves that exist.
Yes. And they were written by many different rishis. There's a main rishi, his name is Agastya. He wrote most of the leaves. And also, again, when we say he wrote the leaves, we don't really know what that means. It can mean that he literally sat down and wrote the poems, but it can also mean that he basically sat in deep meditation. And with his vast consciousness, he could perceive so much at the same time. And then he was dictating it simultaneously to hundreds of disciples. These beings were functioning on a totally different level than us humans with our limited mind today.
Right. So that's amazing. So he was like a enlightened being, basically, that was also getting this information about the leaves, and then he was either writing it down, like you said, or dictating it to others.
Yes. And in my understanding, and I'm not saying that's right, that's my current understanding, the rishis were not ordinary human beings, and they were also not just enlightened human beings. They were something between human beings and deities. So they're more than just humans.
Oh, so they're like angels in a way?
Probably not a one-on-one kind of they're probably not the angels, but they're like their own species in a way, own species or beings, very wise, very highly developed and very compassionate beings.
Okay. Is this almost like because I've talked to some people that have seen aliens firsthand, and do you think sometimes when people see aliens is like it's basically something that has always existed around the earth, but we just couldn't we're not able to see it, or are not able to see it now?
It can be compared, yes.
Okay. So are
And if
these
this wouldn't be recorded, I would probably go into much more speculations with you, but because it's very far speculations.
hey man, this is like you can preface anything you want if you say this is I'm speculating this and then continue on. Because I have a good friend of mine from Canada. He said, because I really trust him, and he told me once, yeah, I saw an alien craft and it was right there, like like a few feet away, a few meters away, and I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like that, but it sounds amazing. I've never seen anything in my life, so it's like, wow, yeah, I'm not meant to at this time. Maybe it would freak me out too much that, yeah, I can't handle it. I don't know, but it seems like there's only a few chosen people that see things in life, isn't it?
At this stage, yes. But also, like, we are deeply in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is like the dark age where consciousness is very, very low.
Oh,
And I think we only perceive a very small fraction of reality. And we are very ignorant to how reality or the history of this planet or life on this planet in this universe really looks like.
you know, with my life, I think there's certain events that are almost like preordained in a way. Like my biggest influence was finding the work of David R. Hawkins, the late David R. Hawkins. He's passed away now, but his work has had huge influence on me, and I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast or talking to you right now if it wasn't for, because like he reconciled all the different religions to me, and a lot of different things as well. So if I did a palm reading, then they'd probably pinpoint something like that too, right? They would say in my story, they would say, oh, you met with this spiritual teacher and this has influenced the way your life has gone.
But the palm readings don't speak much about the past, a little bit.
Okay,
but they
okay.
mainly speak about the future.
Oh, wow.
But they might mention something like you have a teacher that has this name, or that you're following this path. Things like this, yes.
By name, sometimes by exact name.
Yes.
That seems crazy though. Like the people are sometimes shocked when they discover that the palm leaf that was written millions of years ago says the exact name. That seems incredible.
Yes. It's very fascinating.
Wow. It seems so hard to wrap my head around it. Somebody that was born 5,000 BC could, but then what would we say about free will then? It would seem like all is predetermined already.
Yes, it's also, we think that this was written a long time ago. Like 5,000 years seems so far away in the past.
Right.
But for the Rishis, time is not linear. That means that today, 2,000 years ago, 2,000 years in the future from now, it's all happening in the same eternal moment for them. From their level of consciousness, all exists now.
So they're still available here.
They're very much available. And that's also the purpose of the palm leaf reading. The purpose of the palm leaf reading is to connect us with their grace, their guidance, their blessing, their support and protection, especially in these very challenging times today on this planet.
Does it, since you mentioned a future, does it sometimes also mention a future lifetime?
Yes. In a part of every palm leaf reading is that it's going to say that either you're going to be reborn again, or you're not being reborn again, or it's still open. Maybe, maybe not.
Wow. Or is it sometimes you're gonna be reborn, but you're gonna be like, if this not this galaxy, I'm gonna be born somewhere else.
No, I don't think. Usually, no, it doesn't say that, as far as I remember.
Okay, very well. So it's all very much here, but it doesn't seem like it's focused on that. It's all about this lifetime. And wow. So is this just one reading that you do, or do you sometimes follow up with people and see how they're doing? Because sometimes maybe their life changed drastically after this.
So we don't follow up with them, but we are very open and available if they want to reach out to us. So we're there to support people throughout the entire process of the palm leaf reading, and also afterwards if they have questions as well.
Right. So it's not so if somebody has some questions after that they forgot to ask, you're still available maybe a month after or 2 months after.
We cannot answer questions about their reading, because
Okay.
then the palm leaf is closed already. It's more if they have questions about the process. But also, some people only come for one reading, and other people come for one reading and then have a chapter reading, maybe another chapter reading, because you can read the individual chapters individually as well. So in the first reading, you read the general chapter, the summary of your life. And then whenever you wish, you can book those other chapters individually and go into detail into summaries of your life.
Okay. So you can, okay. But then like you said, once your leaf is drawn, you cannot go like 2 years after and be like, oh, I want to have a new reading and draw a new leaf.
Actually, you could do that. You could ask for a new reading from a different Rishi, because it's very likely that you have more than one leaf. Yes, a leaf can be written by one Rishi and also by another Rishi. And they have also slightly different focus points, which areas of life they're focusing on.
But that would be a bit confusing then, because you'd be like, maybe the rishis then contradict each other in slightly, and this rishi say I should have a son, and this rishi say you should not have kids. I mean, okay, I'm just giving an example, and then it would be like, well, what should I do then?
Well, there can be contradictions, usually not that extreme. Like with children, it's very black and white.
Yeah.
Now there can be contradictions, but usually it's very similar. But also, what's true for you today might not true for you three years from now.
Right.
So it might be different.
Yeah, like somebody with 25, they might be like, I'll never have kids. And then by 31, they're like, yeah, I'm looking for a wife or something, Right,
Yes.
right. So it changes. Cool. Let me just see. So do you work, so you basically the reading is because it's written in an ancient language, I imagine. It's not
Correct. It's written, the palm is written in the ancient Tamil language. There's also a different alphabet, more than 200 different symbols. It's also a big task to differentiate, like to find out what's written there, especially in terms of names. How does that sound in the modern English, for example?
right.
That's
And
the role
like,
of the palm leaf readers to decipher that. And this art of reading the palm leaves, it's a whole profession that's passed on from father to son. It's a very profound art, basically.
do you have a leaf handy so we could see what does it look like?
I actually have one, but it's not a very special one. I'm very grateful for it. It was given to me as a demonstration, but it's very
Okay.
simple. One second. I hope you can see it with the filter that I have on. So this is a palm leaf bundle.
Oh yes. Wow. This is just one leaf. Looks like a lot of leaves together.
These are many different leaves in the palm leaf.
Okay.
So
it's quite intricate. Ooh.
Each of them is one leaf. Yes.
Whoa.
That's how they're stored in such a bundle.
Uh-huh.
And each leaf, like these are not the palm leaves that contain the prediction. These are just to show how they look like.
Right.
But usually one leaf contains a whole life story.
Wow. So then if you draw a bundle like this, is it just one leaf has one chapter, or one leaf has the entire life on it, including the
One leaf
future?
has the entire life on it, and then the chapters are stored in different leaves. But in the main leaf, there's a reference where to find them.
Right. Wow, that's so amazing. There's references on the leaf, so you can like, then you can go into a different bundle and find that particular leaf. Wow, this is a lot of. Are they digitizing this, or are they gonna keep the leaf form?
So the palm leaves were not just used for these prophecies, but they were also used to store many different ancient scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I just went on a trip to India a few weeks ago, and I visited some old libraries. I was so touched. These are such special places with so much wisdom in them. And they are digitalizing many of the scriptures that are written on the palm leaves. But those palm leaves that we work with, which contain the predictions, they're not being digitalized.
Right. Well, I imagine it's something, I think is something special about having them on a leaf, though, that
Yes.
In a computer, just
not the same.
it's a bit soulless, shall we say? Even though I love computers and all that, but it's definitely not the same. And yeah, does it have any cross reference to the Vedic astrology, or this is something completely different?
No, they're related. Actually, both Vedic astrology and the palm leaves, they are both under the umbrella of Jyotish. Jyotish is the art of future telling. And another word for the palm leaves is also Nadi Astrology. Nadi means the seeker. In this context, it also has different meanings. In this context, it means the seeker. And Nadi Astrology basically is the art of reading the future through the palm leaves. It's called astrology because in the palm leaves, there's also certain vocabulary being used from astrology, but it's a totally different approach because the information itself is on the palm leaf. It's not based on a chart. Although a palm leaf reader, after the leaf is identified, they also make a chart, but just to have a cross-reference. The reading itself is not happening from the astrological chart, but from the palm leaf.
Cool, amazing. So is there a tangible, like you said, there's a blessing there when somebody seeks it, and that's actually, this is predetermined, and that to me seems the craziest thing. Is the palm leaf gonna say you're gonna seek this when you're in this stage of your life?
Yes, it often does.
Oh man, this is scary stuff. But the only way I could rationalize this away is say that there's leaves that people don't act on it, but they would predict that they would get it, but they, because like, okay, let's see this. There's millions of leaves, but a lot of them have not been opened yet because they will be in the future.
Yes, many have been opened, but many have not yet been opened.
Wow, that's just amazing. I guess there's billions of people in the world, so a lot of them will find this. So there needs to be millions of them, but not billions, because not everybody, I guess, is going to be attracted to this. They are already
Yes.
counted that into the equation, maybe.
Yes, most people are not ready for that. Most people don't even hear about it. They don't have the karma to hear about it. And many people, they hear about it and they think like, that can't be it. It must be a scam. So no.
Right.
And then only very few people, they hear about it and they immediately feel a calling of like, I need to find my leaf, or this is real, this is fascinating. And those people who feel a calling, they usually have a leaf.
Right. Does it ever happen that somebody searches a leaf and then the database comes back and like, there's no leaf for you? I'm sorry.
Yes, that happens, but it's not usually not like there's no leave for you at all. Usually it's like there is no leave for you now. Try again in a few months.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yes.
Also, how it works, like there's so many different libraries. and they are not organized or centralized, but they're in communication with each other. So often bundles of leaves are being transferred from one library to the other, like they are lent, to another library. And it can be that when you search for a leaf, the bundle with your leaf is not at the library. But then if you try again in 4 or 5 months, it's there.
The only thing I'm concerned about is that with this, because it's physical, it could be lost, perhaps in mail or something, in transportation.
Yes.
That's the only thing. But then again, if it's digital, it can be lost as well. But it's easier to back it up, as you know.
Yes.
Right.
I was very impressed, when I was recently in India. So this was given to me as a gift. And as I said, this does not contain leaves of individual people, but this was basically used as training. Someone who was writing palm leaves?
Yeah.
This was their training leaf. But before that, I tried for a long time to acquire some leaves, and I tried to buy them, to bribe them. Can I get some leaves? I'm willing to pay. And India, like many other countries, is a corrupt country. You can do a lot of money there, but no one was willing to sell me leaf. They were all like, no, I can't give this away. This belongs to the library. This is very precious. Like everyone working with the leaves, they take very good care of it.
So that means they have the right people working, at least in the preserving the leaves department.
Yes.
That's very good. So like you said in the beginning of the podcast, that these people are authentic, and I presume they have integrity and they're dedicated to this work. So that's really cool. That's awesome to hear that. That is,
Yes.
exists this community across. Is it just across India that the palm leaves exist?
Mainly across India. I also heard of libraries in Sri Lanka and Bali, but I have not visited them. I only visited libraries in India, so I can't tell. I also must say, not everybody working with the palm leaves is authentic and genuine. I also met people who I wasn't sure, but the ones that we work with, I definitely feel they're very genuine. I trust them. That's also why, I stand with my face, with my work, with my name behind this work, because I trust in it with my whole being as well.
Awesome. And that's what you want. If you're passionate about this, and this is what you do, and this is your life's work right now. So I think you're doing a good job. And I think maybe, who knows, maybe courtesy of this podcast, maybe at least one person will discover it. And then, that's the way the word spreads.
Yes, that's how the magic works.
Cool. Do you have anything else you would like to say before we wrap up the podcast?
So many things.
Okay, well, we can stay longer. Let's go.
That maybe that if you watch this podcast, that I wish that your palm leaf will call you in the right moment, and that everything will align, that you will be able to read it. Maybe with us or a different organization, but that you will find the right place in the right moment.
I like that you're not just just promoting your own organization, but my palm leaf is just one of many. And
correct, yes.
I am assuming that you'd vouch for a lot of them, maybe not. Let me see. Maybe not all of them, or would you say that all of them that do this kind of business are in integrity?
I can't say. I don't know, but I know of a few, and I know they're doing good work. To name them, I think the Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute is doing great work. I think Green Tara Canada is doing great work. These are the ones I know about, and many others probably as well. And I see them as colleagues on the same mission. I'm not in this competition thinking, but I'm grateful for their work, and I hope that they succeed with everything they do as well.
That's awesome. I think that's the best way. Like, and to not see, if you have a store of candy, to not see the other store of candy next to you as competition, but you can cooperate, and actually more customers will come because there's two stores in one place, then more customers will come.
Yes. And the purpose of this work is like to help people to connect with the Rishis, to bring their blessing and grace into their lives, in order to help all of us together through these challenging times of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is like the dark age of consciousness. And together also to invite this golden age to blossom again, to co-create this new world. Like that's the purpose of the Palm Leaves and also of my Palm Leaf of our organization.
When does the dark age end?
There are many different ways to calculate it. Because I'm an optimist, I just choose to believe very soon.
Okay, like a few
I
years,
can't say.
a few years, or
I hope so.
because I've heard some predictions that 2025 is going to be entering into a transition period, according to some, or there's a work by Alice Bailey, and she in a lot of her books, the year 2025 is mentioned. So I'm optimistic. I think maybe 2025 is the start of a really positive change.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I put all of my energy into this reality. Yes.
Me too. Well, thank you very much, Stefan. Österreicher, very glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
And thank you everyone for listening or watching this podcast.